Hello and welcome back to Odds Now. I'm Matt Hill and I'm joined by Brad Wood for the latest Euro 2024 group previews here on the Odds Now YouTube channel. If you're looking for Euro 2024 content and you haven't done so already, you need to head over to oddsnow.com. In our tips and insights section, we have put together an absolute multitude of Euro 2024 preview content for you to enjoy. There are team guides there for all 24 nations, and I guarantee you will not get more comprehensive preview coverage of each country as you'll get on Odds Now, and it's full of predicted 11s, betting tips. So, whether you're a fantasy football player, a punter, or just an enthusiastic fan, you're bound to find something of use in those team guides. So definitely check them out. We're going to link the relevant ones for this group in the description below, along with some other useful information. If you haven't already been checking out our videos, head over to the Odds Now YouTube channel. We've done 6 group stage previews. This is Group D, so we're 4 in. Depending on when you're watching, they may all be live. You can head over to the channel and see what we'll be looking at some specials markets as well. And there will be match betting previews as we go throughout the tournament as well. So stick with Odds Now and oddsnow.com throughout the Euros to have your betting and preview fix sorted. Now, as you can tell by the title of this video, we're here to discuss Group D today. I'm joined by Brad, and this is another really strong, intriguing looking group for established tournament nations in this group, including one of the red hot favourites in France. Brad, I think we should probably start with France here. Um, what do we say about them? World Cup finalists in 2022, only denied by Lionel Messi in his crowning moment. I think there was a bizarre situation where most neutrals were probably cheering on Messi to get that World Cup win. But I mean, on the other side of the coin, you had Kylian Mbappe, who scored a hat trick in a World Cup final and still didn't win. They beat England in the last European Championship, but ended up falling short there. But I mean, this is a serious nation that we're talking about here. They come in as one of the red hot favourites for. Um, do you think that they are worthy of their place in the betting market as one of the red hot favourites?
Absolutely, I do. Yeah, I think if you put a gun to my head now, like just over 2 weeks out from the tournament, I think France will probably win. They're my favourites overall. I think England are ahead of them on the odds, but I do favour France to go and lift the whole thing. If I'm honest, in terms of their qualifying campaign, they won all but one of their 8 matches. The only draw I think was or only drop points. Sorry, was a 2-2 draw versus Greece. That included a record 14-0 win over Gibraltar, which helped them top Group B by 4 points, 4 ahead of Netherlands, actually, who are also in their group in the main tournament this summer. They scored 29 goals, which is a tally bettered only by Portugal in qualifying, and they also conceded the least amount of goals with just 3 shipped across those 8 games. So it just shows you how well-rounded this side is at both ends of the pitch. I think you look at some of the names that missed out on the squad, the likes of Michael Olise, Christopher Nkunku, and Moussa Diaby, didn't even make the squad. And I think they start for a lot of nations. So it tells you, it just speaks to their incredible squad depth, across all areas. Therefore, like you said, they will be disappointed by the ending of their World Cup campaign. Heartbreaking way to lose it on penalties. It was a thrilling final. They'll also have been disappointed by their performance at Euro 2020 when they were knocked out in the last 16 to Switzerland on penalties. I think France came into that tournament, if I remember rightly, strong favourites, and they were upset there. So it just shows to show you what we said in all of our videos so far. Anything can happen in tournament football, but on the outset, you can only judge things off on face value. And I think they are very, very strong favourites for this tournament, certainly to top the group. I think they come in at 4-7 to top the group, which speaks volumes. Like I said, it's quite a strong group, this, but France still hotly tipped to come out in first. They kick off the tournament, against Austria on the 17th of June. Then they face the Netherlands, who, of course, like I said, they faced in qualifying. I think they won both of those games. That's an intriguing match there in the second group, and then they conclude their group games against Poland on the 25th. If they finish top of the group, they are likely to, they will be meeting, the second place team in Group F. With Portugal expected to top that group, that means they're likely to face either Turkey, Georgia, or Czech Republic. I think I'd back France to beat all of those sides. I'd probably back them to beat Portugal as well, to be honest. And if they were to somehow finish second, they'll be facing the second place team in Group E, which is either Belgium, Romania, Slovakia, or Ukraine. So I do expect France to go deep in this tournament. I think we mentioned in our Group C video, Matt, that if they were to top this group and England were to top theirs, they were set for a meeting with England in the semi-finals, who, of course, they knocked out at the World Cup in Qatar 18 months ago at the quarter-final stage in a tight game, 2-1 win for France. Harry Kane, of course, missed a decisive penalty, which denied England any chance of getting back into that game. But yeah, to answer your question, a very long-winded answer, but yeah, I do think they are certainly worthy of coming out or entering, as strong favourites to not just win the group, like I said, but win the entire tournament.
It's an embarrassment of riches within their squad. Like you say, some of the players that miss out, and that, unlike, I suppose, England, where you can quite quickly say, okay, fantastic in a lot of areas, but the back line may be a little bit weak due to injuries. France don't really have that same weak spot per se. It's hard to see where their weaknesses are. I think traditionally with France, they've always been well fancied coming into tournaments for the last sort of 10 or 20 years. But, you always feel with France, the danger could be a little bit of a slow start or complacency or, problems in the camp we've had in previous tournaments, not so much recently.
Yeah.
Didier Deschamps, the manager, seems to have stomped out that side of things. He's a bit of a divisive figure in France, he's not against, like, saying a controversial statement every now and then, but he seems to have a good handle on this group, doesn't he? He's a good, experienced hand, doesn't get too carried away, just takes it all in his stride. He seems a good fit for such a well fancied team.
Yeah, absolutely. You just look at their World Cup campaign. I think it was Marcus Thuram who went through in the last minute. If he puts that chance away, they've won the World Cup in Qatar, and we could be talking about a team then who are world champions heading to Germany. They obviously won the World Cup in 2018 as well. They will be very disappointed with their showing 3 years ago, sorry, should I say, the delay caused by the pandemic to Euro 2020. But yeah, if you just look at their squad, it's just incredible. Like William Saliba, we're all familiar with from his time at Arsenal and how he's performed this season, and it's taken a while for him to really get a grip on a starting place for France, which just says it all. The fact that he's not a guaranteed, a nailed-on starter, incredible talent. I think you said that it's almost, it sounds harsh to all the other teams in the tournament, but their biggest danger could be themselves, like you said, with the complacency. I think the quality all over the pitch. I don't think any other squad possesses that quality as well-rounded. Like I mentioned, the statistics from qualifying, they're fantastic. Like you said, we produced the written content. I wrote the one for France, and we mentioned the star players for each side, and Kylian Mbappe was the obvious man to highlight for them. There is this ongoing saga, if you will. He's leaving PSG. I think we all know that it's going to be Real Madrid that he's going to go to, but while that hovers in the background, the uncertainty, you question whether that will be a factor or will that hinder him. I think I'm right in saying, I've not got this written down, but he failed to score at the last European Championships, didn't he? I think Mbappe for France.
He did, and they were generally disappointing in that he missed the penalty, didn't he, against Switzerland in that game that eventually saw them stunned in the last 16. So yeah, he didn't have a great time of things at the last Euros, but more than made up for that in the World Cup. I suppose he's got any kind of monkeys off his back with producing on the tournament stage. I guess I touched on it a little bit there. My only worry with France, I generally think in group stage campaigns, they can be a little bit sluggish. You look at the World Cup even, I know their loss was a dead rubber to Tunisia, but even in the two other games, they beat Australia comfortably in the end, but they did go 1-0 down in that game, and they were, under the cosh for quite a while against a pretty average Australia side. They beat Denmark with an 87th minute goal, I think. So that they can. I've always got this impression that they're quite slow starters in tournaments, and if you are in a strong group with teams that could take advantage, then that's not a good trait to have. And I think last time they started off against Australia, this time they're going to be they're going to have tougher games on their hands. I'm sure we're going to come on to the other three teams and their individual strengths and weaknesses, but if I was a France backer, I'd want to be seeing them start more convincingly. But when they get into the latter stages and the games become more cagey, more about individual moments, they have the individual class to hurt any team, as England found out last time. And, if France are still there in the final four, they're probably going to be the favourites, aren't they? And you wouldn't be in a rush to back against them. But for me, I'll probably give them a bit of a watching brief in the first game or two and just see how they start, because they're short enough in the betting to lead. They're not going to get much shorter until the later stages, so you can kind of just get a feel for how they're going about it in the first couple of games, I think. Yeah, I suppose we should move on then to some of the other teams in this group, because it's a fantastic group. We have the Netherlands next, who have got a real pedigree in international football. Fair to say that the last few years hasn't been a vintage Netherlands crop. Of course, they made the World Cup final in 2010, losing that memorable game to Spain. It wasn't a memorable sort of spectacle, but very physical and a lot of yellow cards and quite a brutal game from memory. But, under the control of Ronald Koeman now, who is probably a bit fortunate to be back in a job of this ilk, I would say. He didn't have the best time in his club career, certainly with Everton. But, his stock is still high, probably for his playing career in his home nation. He's back in charge. I guess you could call him a safe pair of hands. But he seems to have found a good balance with this side now. Some less heralded names have come into the 11, but maybe just offered a little bit more balance to the team overall. And they still have a little bit of star quality in attacking areas. Xavi Simons is a player, I think, who's coming on leaps and bounds rapidly. Cody Gakpo has been a bit part player at Liverpool, but we all know that he's got talent. He was very impressive at the World Cup. So there is sort of enough about this Netherlands team to make you think they could have a run. And with Virgil van Dijk at the back, you've always got a good chance of in knockout football, haven't you?
You have, yeah. You mentioned Ronald Koeman. It's his second time as Netherlands manager. I think last time he left and he to go and manage Barcelona, but now he's back in the Dutch hot seat. And it was a rocky start to his second campaign as the manager, but they have bounced back. They've won 6 of their last 8. As they face France, in qualifying. They lost both of those games, and I think questions are rightly asked of them against the top sides. They lost, like I said, both those games to France, and they also lost a recent friendly to Germany. And Germany, before that period, they weren't in the best run of form themselves, and they came out on top there against the Netherlands. They start their tournament against Poland on the 16th of June. We'll come on to Poland in a minute and our predictions at the end of the video, but I think Poland are probably the weakest out of the 4 sides. So they'll be looking to get a 3 points on the board there, and then they come into that big game against France. I'm sure, to be honest with you, if both of them win their opening games, all of a sudden I think that one could be quite cagey, and they'd be both settling for a point. So 4 points, especially this current format, will probably be enough, but should definitely be enough to get you into the knockout stages. Then they conclude against an Austria side who are in good form themselves. So again, it's a very open group, this. I certainly think Netherlands will qualify. I'm not sure if they will get a top 2 finish, though. It's just something I do wonder. It's more, to be honest, to the strength of the likes of France and Austria as well, who we'll come on to in a minute, like I said, who have really kicked on. I know they're missing a few big players, Austria, through injury. But a sneaking feeling, is that they might come in third here, and Austria might sneak a second place. But I wouldn't be surprised either way, to be honest with you. I've changed when we were previewing this group for the prediction. We're doing our predictions. I changed my mind about 10 times. It's a very, very open group, and it's going to make for a great watch. Again, I said for France, if they finish first in this group, Netherlands, they'll set up a meeting with the second team in Group F, and if they finish second, they'll finish with they're coming up against the second team in Group E. If they finish third, it's unknown who they'll face, just because of the different variables depending on the rankings in those third place sides. But yeah, I'd certainly back the Netherlands to qualify from this group. I think it's just a matter of whether they are second or third. I agree with what you said about France. And they will need to be at their best, because I think they face Austria in their first match. And come on to Austria in a minute. They're flying really high right now under Ralf Rangnick, so they'll need to be at their best if they're going to get 3 points there. But I would back them to top the group, and then it's a case in my mind of whether it's Netherlands or Austria that come second.
Yeah, you already touched on Austria. I'm getting a good vibe on Austria from you on your early comments, and it's with good reason as well, because they come into here in as good a form as any team really. Only one loss since summer 2023, and that was to Belgium 3-2. No shame in that, but some great results in there along the way as well. 2-0 victory over Germany, probably the highlight. That last outing, for example, a Turkey team that are well fancied to go well in in Group F. Austria thumped them 6-1 in March. So
Yeah.
this is a team playing some great football. Ralf Rangnick in charge, a man that Premier League fans will associate with an almost comical time in Manchester United's recent history, where he was just kind of berating the players on a weekly basis whilst trying to sort of manage them. It was quite a surreal period, but a very respected man in football circles, particularly for what he's done in sort of sporting director roles. Here we're seeing him again in a managerial role, but he's showing his class again, isn't he? He's got this Austria side purring, hasn't he?
He really has, yeah. They've qualified now for their third European Championships on the spin. Comfortably qualified as well. They were second and just 1 point behind Belgium, who led the group. And they conceded just 7 goals across their qualifying matches, Austria, and 4 of those were against Belgium, keeping clean sheets in 3 of their 8 matches during qualifying. So they're very, like you said, coming into this in great form. They did struggle a little bit under Ranić at first when he came in. I think he joined in April 2022. And they won just one of his first 6 matches in charge, but they really did kick on. You mentioned the 3-2 loss to Belgium in October. That ended an 8-match unbeaten run for them. So they're in very, very good form. I mentioned the injuries that David Alaba, I think, is the big name that stands out, but also Javier Schlager, the midfielder. Both of those will miss the tournament through injuries. They will be misses, but you touched on their recent games. Alaba, for example, they've missed the last 3 matches for Austria, and they've beaten Turkey, Slovakia, and Germany. All 3 will be at the tournament. And like you said, how they dealt with Turkey, they're in great form. They come up against France in their first game. I mentioned in the previous video for Group C, I think it was Serbia. Who'd be grateful almost to get that England game out of the way. Perhaps Austria will be feeling the same here if they can get against France. If they can get anything from that game, a bonus. But then they come into a second game against Poland, who I'd certainly back them to beat. We'll come on to Poland in a minute. They were far from convincing in their qualifying campaign. And then what could be a crucial game, the third game, Austria and Holland. In my mind, this will be a game between two teams, who are vying for that second spot in Group D. I think that it will leave the group finally poised as we head in to that final match week. I think if they can get they need to get the 3 points against Poland. I don't think they can guarantee any wins against France and Holland, because they are 2 good, strong sides. So they give themselves the best possible chance of a win against Poland is a must, who I said we'll come on to in a minute. But a top 2 finish is far from out of the equation for Austria. I can't remember who I went for on my predictions to finish second, whether it was Austria or the Netherlands, but I can see an argument for both, and I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see Austria come through this group in second place.
It definitely has an open look to it, this group. As we've said, for a few of them, I suppose Poland would probably be the least fancied team, certainly in the betting market, but also on a personal level. I find it hard to get too enthusiastic about this Poland side. They've came into major tournaments over the last decade with a little bit of buzz around them. Could they go deep because of, Robert Lewandowski up front, proven operators in that midfield and back line as well. They had a really solid look to them in the mid 2010s, for example. I think they reached a quarter final at the Euros 8 years ago, but that's as good as it's got. That's the only time they've got to the last 8 in a tournament over the last 20 years. So I actually think this is a team on the decline. Some big names have kind of bowed out off the scene. Lewandowski's probably past his best, even though he's still, performing admirably for Barcelona. So yeah, I'm struggling to get too enthusiastic about Poland. And I think when you factor in the quality of, the quality of the opposition, France and Netherlands, great pedigree, Austria in fantastic form, it's difficult to make a case for them, isn't it?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. They scraped through qualifying. We were winning the playoffs over Wales on penalties. They won just 3 of their 8 matches in the group, and it was a relatively weak group, which was eventually topped by Albania. I think Czech Republic came in second. I think before that group kicked off, you'd have been back in Poland to get through that, but they really made hard work of it. They finished in third, like I said, eventually got through the playoffs by the skin of their teeth. I think there's a lot of question marks around the manager, Michel Probiez, who's very inexperienced at the top level. He's only managed at club level in Poland and Greece, and I don't think he's ever managed at a major tournament. So, and you factor in, like you mentioned there, Lewandowski, who really struggled by his own standards in qualifying. He scored just 3 goals across those 8 matches, and that really hampered Poland going forward. They only scored 10 goals in total during their qualifying campaign. And you mentioned there, he's been the man, the go-to man to score the goals. If you look at his tallies over the years during qualifying period to a major tournaments, he's really fell below those standards now. And you can't blame him. He's getting on, like you said. He's past his best, but it does show signs that they have shown signs. Of a team in decline. They opened the tournament up against Netherlands in their first group stage match. Again, like I said, I think it is very open in this group. We could finish second out of Netherlands and Austria, but I think both of them are far better than Poland. And if they take a hammering in that first game, I think that the writing could already be on the wall for them. They then face Austria in their second game, and then they finish with a game against France. So if they want to give themselves any chance of getting through this group, they need to get points on the board. And I just don't know where the win comes from. I think you need to win at least one game to give yourself any chance of getting through. I don't see them beating any of those sides, if I'm completely honest with you. There's a lot of uncertainty around this side. Like I said, Lewandowski's not getting younger, not looked himself for his country. He did score 25 goals this season for Barcelona, but he has failed to deliver. As harsh. He scored 3 goals, but he hasn't lived up to his usual standards in Poland colours. So yeah, I'd be backing them to go out of the group, I think.
Yeah, I worry about the defence for me. The lack of experience in the defence. I think only 3 players have more than 20 caps at international level in the back line, which is a big worry. And one of them, I think the most capped is Jan Bednarek, who's been playing this football in the Championship this season. So you would worry about them against this France, Netherlands and in-form Austria, I think. But yeah, like top of the group, very, very difficult to predict. We're going to put our predictions for how this group may finish up on the screen. And look, you may have got the hint from me that I'm just wanting to take France on in the group stage a little bit, just because they can be slow starters. Clearly, on paper, they're far and away the best team in this group. But I just think there's enough banana skins here between Austria and the Netherlands for them maybe to sort of slip up. But if they get into the knockouts, which they surely will, they're going to be a real force to be reckoned with. Yeah, like what you say about Austria, they're coming in fantastic form. I like the fact that they're not reliant on big names. There's that kind of shared responsibility that we see with some of these middling teams that generally bodes well, and that's why I think they're well poised to cope without David Alaba, because they're not a team full of egos or team full of superstars. So I think they'll still be competitive. They may well sneak a top 2 finish. But yeah, I've just took France on there. But if we're being honest, the order you have in front of you from Brad is probably the most likely outcome.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if I went for Netherlands or Austria in second, but like I said, neither would surprise me. I think the only surprising outcome in this group for me would be if Poland was to get through. And I know it sounds harsh, but we just touched on there on how unconvincing they've been. Netherlands, not as strong as they've been in recent years, but they've got very good players in their team too. Like you mentioned, Xavi Simons, he was the player that I touched upon as the one to watch for Netherlands in the written content, which you can find in the description below. I'm sure there's a lot of promise in that Dutch side. Very good going forward. We'll come on to my best bets in a minute. I don't expect them to go particularly deep in the tournament, just because I think of the quality of the sides that are being around them during those latter stages. But yeah, I'd certainly be confident of France, Netherlands, and Austria getting through.
That is just time for us then to move on to your best bets for the tournament. I don't know if you've continued to follow this one, I think you have, but we've been trying to pick one for each team so that you have kind of an angle into all 24 nations by watching these previews. Brad, I'll let you walk through your selections, man.
Yeah, as you can see at the top, started off with either England or France to win Euro 2024. I mentioned in previous videos, if both of those sides win their groups, as most expect them to do, that they are set for a meeting in the semi-finals, and I do feel as though if that is the case, the winner of that match will probably go on to win the tournament. I think you're getting good value there, coming in just above even money for that. Germany and Portugal, no doubt, on the other side of the draw, if they win their groups as is expected, remain a threat. But I just think the added quality on England have going forward, and France all over the pitch will make them the sensible picks to come out on top to win the entire thing. Obviously, there is a danger of almost trying to predict too far ahead. The ball's not even been kicked yet, and there are a lot of variables at play, a lot of football to take place. But that was the bet that stood out for me. The second bet, Netherlands to be eliminated in the quarterfinals. If they do come in second, which we both picked them to, like I said, I won't be surprised if Austria did. But if Netherlands were to finish in second place, I think they get quite a favourable draw in the round of 16 in the game, which you'd expect them to come through. But if they do come through that, then a meeting with Portugal could be waiting for them in the quarterfinals. And again, I think Portugal's added quality, particularly in attacking areas, would be too much for Netherlands, despite that Virgil van Dijk, at the back and the quality they got going forward. I'd probably edge Portugal to win that one. I think there's great value there, coming in at 3-1. The third one, as you can see, we touched about, and we've heaped loads of praise on Austria in this video to qualify from Group D, coming in at just under even money, 19-20. They're on a great run after a shaky start, and the ranking, as we touched upon, format of the tournament is very favourable for them. I feel with the four third-ranked sides going through, I certainly think they'll be among them. A win against Poland, in my opinion, will be enough to get them through through that structure. With 3 points likely to be enough. But like I said, I wouldn't completely rule out a top two finish anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if they came in at second. And I've mentioned the game of Poland and Austria. To be honest with you, it was hard to find a bet with value on with Poland. So I think everything we've spoken about with them is reflected in the betting markets. But I looked at the games and what they were looking like outright, and I think Austria to beat Poland, 15-13 over even money is very good value. Again, Poland was so unconvincing to run qualifying. It got through by the skin of their teeth. Lewandowski's out of form, and I think the other three sides in the group are much more convincing than them, including Austria, who I'd expect them to get 3 points against this Polish side.
Mm. Yeah, struggling to argue too strongly with any of them. If we really did want to go extreme against Poland to get exactly 0 points in the group stage is 9-2, which, we're talking about a golfing class with these teams. If you do fancy Austria to beat them, then, that may well be worth a little nibble as well. But yeah, fantastic analysis from Brad there. Really enjoyed that. So that wraps up our assessment of Group D here over on Odds Now. Make sure you check out our other group guides. We've got one for all 6 groups, and we'll have some specials markets covered as well in other videos. There's going to be match previews throughout the tournament here on the YouTube channel, and loads of content over on oddsnow.com. Just click on the tips and insights section at the top of the webpage, and we do have the exact Group D team previews linked in the description below. If you've enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. You can subscribe to make sure you don't miss our content, and drop us a comment and let us know who you fancy to progress out of Group D and who you're backing for Euro 2024. Thanks very much for watching Odds Now. We hope to see you again soon.